this week, I recommended a movie, and at the end of this episode, you'll recommend one. That's kind of what we're doing because no new movies are coming out. And then at the end of the episode, we'll just talk about what we've been watching. So for this week, I recommended A Walk Among the Tombstones, a 2014.
A Walk Among the Tombstones?
God damn it. We're so professional. A Walk Among the Tombstones, a 2014 Liam Neeson detective movie. I was going to say action movie, but it's really not.
No, it's like a suspense detective movie.
Yeah, I saw this movie in theaters in 2014, and I remember really liking it. When did you see it for the first time?
I saw it on TV, probably in 2015 or 2016.
Was it edited? Was it how an FX will release something?
Yeah,
edited?
I think I saw it on FX actually.
Was it edited down from the one you've seen, like content-wise, or?
Well, I didn't watch it on FX this time. I think it was a little more graphic this time.
Okay.
With swearing and stuff, but I'm pretty sure in the FX one, all the violence was shown.
Okay, so what were your first thoughts? You saw it in whenever it came out. What was your first thoughts?
So when I first saw it, I was because this was during the time of when Liam Neeson was just making 20 movies a year.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, this movie's actually really good.
Yeah.
It's not because again, this is during the time where he was just making a ton of action movies that some of them were better than others, but none of them were exactly raising the bar.
Yep.
In levels of character work or directing or anything. But this movie is just a straight up detective movie, and there's not a whole lot of action in it, and the violence that you do see is very realistic and very grim, and it's not supposed to be oh, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
He plays more of a character. He plays more of a realistic detective kind of character, and just I was surprised by how well directed it was, how good it was considering the other movies he was making at the time.
Yeah. This came out again, like I said, 2014. I think also that year the movie Nonstop came out with him in it.
Yeah.
Where
with Joel McKinnon or whatever.
If that's the movie with the plane.
I'm thinking of Run All Night.
I completely forgot about that movie. I have seen. Okay,
they're all the same thing.
They're all the same. I have a weird track record where for some reason I end up seeing all Liam Neeson movies in theaters. I've seen The Unknown. I saw Run All Night in theaters. I saw Nonstop in theaters. I saw Walk Among the Tombstone in theaters. And I saw The Commuter in theaters. For some reason. I don't know why.
I haven't seen Commuter.
It's adequate.
You see the Taken 2 and 3 in theaters?
I did not see those. Those were thank God. But I saw the first Taken in theaters at 10 years old. Or whenever that movie came out, 2008. Yeah, so 10. But you're exactly right, because Nonstop comes out, and Nonstop is this freaking gigantic, bombastic action movie, and then Walk Among the Tombstones has 2 15-second action scenes.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about brief. This movie, for me, I'm gonna critique the movie, but my critiques might sound harsh. I actually enjoyed this movie. I think it's a 3.5 out of 5 movie. But this is not really major spoilers. There's also not a lot of substance to it, and that might sound bad. So there's not a ton to spoil. There's no twist with kind of who the bad guys are. It's very upfront. But there's
spoiler.
There's 2 action scenes in this movie, and Liam Neeson gets the shit kicked out of him in both.
Yeah.
And it's kind of great. He throws. I think he lands 1 punch in this movie, and it's a sucker punch. Yeah. And everything else, he's just
the guy who's not paying any attention.
Yeah. And it's actually a really smart scene.
No, it's actually good too. I laughed out loud when that happened.
So, Matt, since I recommended this movie, I don't know. We both kind of were yeah, it's pretty good. So you watched it the second time, and what did you think?
I'd say I remember thinking it was really, really good the first time I saw it.
Yep.
And I still think it's really good, but there are more problems with the movie that I noticed the second time watching it. Like you said, it's not really as deep as you expected. So there are really varying degrees of this kind of movie. There's top tier 7.
Yep.
Kind of gritty detective dark subject movies.
Yep.
Where the 7 is, it's really grim and dark and disgusting at times, but
the characters are developed too.
What?
The characters are developed too. Brad Pitt is a developed character in that movie.
Yeah, and as is Morgan Freeman, as is all the characters in it.
Yeah.
And then there's the lowbrow kind of crap. I can't think of any names off the top of my head, but something you'd see at Redbox or something where it's just miserable and gross. I'd say this is kind of in the middle a bit. The character work I think is really good, and I think that although the movie can get disturbing at times, I think that it's the subject matter is handled like pretty appropriately. Like, never feels gratuitous, in my opinion. But at the same time, I feel like characters make stupid decisions, and there's like a kid's sidekick that I didn't really like the second time I watched it.
That really stands out the second time.
Yeah, it's like he's kind of like the actor does a good job, but his character is like really unrealistic.
Yep.
And it just really has no like relevance to the plot. It feels like it feels like he's Short Round, but in a gritty, realistic detective.
Yeah, where it shouldn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I would say this movie's kind of in the middle between like a 7 and between like a 7 like a really well executed film and like versus like a lowbrow like stupid movie that you would watch.
Yeah.
Not you would watch, but
no, yeah, I would watch those.
You would watch stupid movies.
Yeah, I would watch stupid movies. I watch Bloodshot for fun.
Yeah.
So no, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Before I looked up before the movie started, I was curious about what kind of reviews this movie got. And I was with you. I remember really, really liking this movie. And I think that's a big reason is because it was a change of pace. All of a sudden, Liam Neeson's in like a smaller action movie. And again, I saw this in 2014, so it's been 6 years. And I looked at the reviews, and it's like audiences are kind of bleh about it, and critics are a little bit, but a little bit better, but not super great. And I remember seeing that going, oh, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And then I see it and I get it. I actually kind of disagree with you a little bit on the characters. I think Liam Neeson's performance is great.
Yeah.
But I don't think no one in this movie is a character except for the kid. The kid actually has like a backstory and development. Liam Neeson has a little bit. And then this is a movie where bad guys are bad for no reason. And I think but there are like small fixes I feel like we can make that add to it, which we can get to in a little bit in spoilers. But bad guys are bad.
I kind of feel like the bad guys, I feel like they were kind of like, they were jerks, but they never felt like comically evil. And that's what I mean when I feel like the character work was better in this movie compared to other gritty detective movies. Because I feel like David Arbor and the other guy, like they're kind of like smug, and I kind of like that. Like, they weren't just evil. I didn't think they were evil for the sake of being evil. I thought they had like a sort of edge about them that felt realistic to me. And like they're kind of cocky, which I kind of like. They weren't just like these antisocial people. Like, they were cocky, and they had like these kind of humanistic flaws to them that I kind of enjoyed.
See, I agree with that, but I also disagree with it. I like the cocky element of it, but I don't think it adds anything to the character.
Okay.
Because I think in the end, do we care about spoilers? I mean,
let's just say, like, do you recommend watching this movie to someone who hasn't seen?
I think for this genre, I think this is a I'm gonna say solid. Our friend Alex called me out and saying solid a lot, but I think this is for this type of genre. I think this is a legitimately 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5 solid movie.
Yes.
It's an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I think it's a good movie. I think it's a decent movie and a good way to spend time if you're looking for kind of that kind of movie. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I'd recommend it if you like detective movies. If you like Liam Neeson, if you like that kind of serial killer or detective genre, then this is definitely a movie you should check out, because although it's not like on the degree of like a Silence of the Lambs or a 7, I think it's probably like a couple letter grades below that, and you would still get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
I mean, I think out of the 2010s Liam Neeson action movies, I think it's not the most fun, but it's his best movie. I think Nonstop is his most fun.
Nonstop is a very fun movie.
Yeah, but it's not. But this one is legitimately the best, and we can get to that because this movie is really well directed. But yeah, I recommend this movie. You do too. So we'll get into spoilers. We should preface that we should have said at the beginning that there's going to be timestamps in the description for when each section. I'm going to try. It doesn't take too long, but I'm going to do it. But now with spoilers, so if you don't want the movie spoiled for you, spoilers now. The main thing I wanted to talk about is and why I think they're just bad for bad sake is at the end when one of the bad guys kills the other bad guy.
Yeah.
For no really like apparent reason.
Well, he was wounded. I think the reason was because they didn't get to kill the little girl, and I think that he just had this revved up frustration that they had this kill taken away from them. I don't understand the psychology of serial killers, just for the record, but that's how I interpret it. Is there was like this frustration both, and they weren't able to kill they weren't able to kill their victim, which they've always consistently done. This is the first time they've had they've had this kind of problem before, because every time previously, like the person who they're trying to get the money from has always listened to them completely, and they've been able to do whatever they want. So this is the first time they've ever actually faced conflict, and it's the first time they literally lost everything. One of the guys gets shot. They lose. They don't get the money. They don't get their victim either.
Yeah.
So I just interpret it as him being so frustrated at both his partner for messing up and for just like being in that zone where you're thinking where if I was a serial killer, which I'm not, maybe
oh god.
he was just disappointed that it's like when you have something planned and then it gets taken away from you immediately, and then you get upset. You're like, well, I just had this in the palm of my hand, and now I can't do this thing anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, I get it. I get your point.
And then David Harbour knows it's coming too, because he puts a taser in his pocket, so it's not like he sees it in his eyes. He knows it's coming. It didn't just come out of nowhere.
That's a good point. That taser ends up becoming Chekhov's gun, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. No, I agree with what you're saying. And I guess my argument is I don't think it really adds anything to the characters. I think so. The fix I was gonna say was that it's a little fix, but I think adds something to it. And it's basically at the beginning when Liam Neeson's trying to find out, and he realizes that they're going after basically you just hit the mic.
Yeah. I'm resting it on my waist because I don't have my table with me.
Oh my god, professionalism, Matt.
Yeah.
But no, it's basically when we find out that they're killing the family members of drug sellers and drug dealers, like major ones, and we find out how is because they killed a DEA agent and took her files. Yeah. I think there's a very quick fix that adds something to their characters. Cut out that getting the file stuff. Make them just regular DEA agents
that'd be interesting.
Who just go off and go, hey, like this law isn't like we're not like they're not doing anything about these drug guys, because we even see the DEA agents know about everyone.
Yeah.
Because that one punch we talk about is Liam Neeson being tailed by the DEA, and they surprise them and they're like, hey, we know about these people. Like, oh, okay, like you don't actually know anything, and that's it, and that's the only time they're in the movie. Have those guys be part of it. Have them enacting their own revenge for their own moral reasons. Boom, immediately more interesting characters, and it adds slight depth.
I didn't even think about that. No, that would be a really good addition. Because then it would give them like sort of the same kind of training as Liam Neeson does.
Yep.
So it kind of makes them seem more intimidating, because like, oh, these are professionally trained DEA agents that know their stuff.
Yeah, and it also adds, again, villains are the best when you they so vehemently believe in their own stuff. You have DEA agents who take this kind of murder as a sense of vigilantism, and all of a sudden it becomes a far more interesting movie. Hey, we're doing these kind of hard actions, murder basically, to stop these people from selling drugs.
Yeah, but instead, I feel like that would take when it becomes vigilantism, then it takes like, I understand what you're saying. Like, I think vigilantism works more for like a superhero thing. But when they're serial killers, it's not like they're not delusional in the sense that they feel like they're doing the right thing. Like, they know they're not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
The whole time. Like, it's just a mental obsession for them to do it. Like they never try to disguise what they're doing as being they're not attacking drug dealers because they want to like give them some sort of a comeuppance, or drug dealers
that's a good point.
Because then the drug dealers can't go to the police.
Yep.
And have help with getting their whatever.
Because then all of a sudden it changes the whole tone of the movie. Okay, then maybe remove the vigilantes. They're just DEA agents who are just serial killers, and it kind of adds, because then there's what this movie is lacking a lot of is depth in the story. Yeah. And I think then fine, we remove that they're doing it out of sense of comeuppance. How about their DEA agents who are just doing this because they're serial killers? But then you can throw the actual DEA in there, like they had, like for a quick one scene in the movie. Have them more involved, and all of a sudden the movie adds a little bit more depth. They're basically hunting, like it changes the movie, but I feel like this movie needs a little bit, because I gotta ask one, what is Liam Neeson's character? He shoots at the beginning of the movie. We see him be a dick because he uses like a racial swear against his partner, and that establishes. He then kills people who are shooting guns, and then kind of like nonchalant, and then accidentally kills a 7-year-old girl with a bullet. Is that all we know about his character? Does he have?
He's an alcoholic.
He was an alcoholic.
Recovering alcoholic.
Yep.
And he sort of has a problem with because a lot of during those like talks he goes to. It talks a lot about like surrendering yourself and accepting your powerlessness. So I guess there's like a degree of that as well, even though he like doesn't really work for him because the whole point of him involving himself with this plot is because he is more powerful than say like the drug dealer who's never dealt with the serial killers before. So he's a very powerful person. He's the only one who stands up to the serial killers. So I didn't really understand how like surrendering yourself to a higher power or accepting your powerlessness with alcoholism really really associates itself with the plot.
Yeah, it's weird. He's not really, and there's also, you would think, because I feel like there's easy fixes. His adoption of TJ, the kid, as kind of a surrogate son, would have made more sense if he had had a kid and lost a kid, but we never see that. Instead, he kind of seems like he begrudgingly takes on him.
He just randomly shows him like the articles that he's investigating for no reason.
He sees the kid. He overhears the kid basically like, "Hey, you've been sleeping here again." He drops it. He notices he's a great artist and invites him. But then for the rest of the movie, for a portion, kind of just like, "Hey, like, he's clearly like a good person," and you see the contrast from the first scene to the second scene, and when he eventually kind of comes like that. But the inclusion of the kid in more violent actions when they are going to a shootout at the end. It's
why would he
weird.
bring him in the car? He especially when he finds out the kid has a gun and he's like load it, cock it, and point it to your head and pull the trigger because that's what's going to happen if you.
And then he leaves him.
With this life. Well, I mean, there's that, and also he brings him to a shootout where he's going to be in more danger than anything else.
And do you want to know how he can start? They go, wait, where's TJ? Oh, because the kid has sickle cell anemia, and then the shootout's
and
over.
It's pouring rain out. And they establish it's like really bad for him. And then he's out. Then he's sorry, I don't want to yell. Then he's out. He's out in the van, and it's like raining out there. He's like, stay outside.
It's absurd. It doesn't make any sense. And at the end, okay, there's this weird end shot of the movie. Again, we like this movie. We want to preface that. There's this weird tone about this movie, and I don't know if you caught it, but the end shot is when he's looking at TJ sleep on his couch, and he draws him as a superhero. But then the camera pans out, and it goes up, and you expect, because the movie is concluded, and it shows it's New York, because the movie takes place in 1999. But the music comes up, and the music is somber, and it's depressing, and the movie ends. And that shot reminds me of a type of movie where the movie ends, but then it pulls back, and the characters and you're like revealed to the audience that the characters kind of haven't escaped something, or they're still kind of that. It's really tonally weird because you expect, hey, he's done better. Liam Neeson doesn't change in this movie. The movie starts with him already having proved himself, and then the movie ends with him the same thing, but now he has a surrogate son.
He wants to change throughout the whole movie. Like, the movie starts with him already kind of overcoming the alcoholism and stuff that he suffered from. And then, so he doesn't really go through much development.
He's already overcome it. He's already a better person, because it's the first shot of the movie of him being when he accidentally kills a 7-year-old girl, to then where you see him now in 1999, because it takes place, it's like 1992, 1999. He's already had his arc.
Yeah.
And then he gets included in it, and then he gets surrogates. It's a weird, like, again, Liam Neeson is really great in this movie.
Yes.
He's great in this movie, but the characters in this movie are very wonky.
While we're still on complaints, what did you think of the Y2K backdrop? Was there any relevance to that?
No, it was
they
weird.
They keep bringing it up, and like there's like Y2K spray painted on the walls when they're walking, and it's like they're talking about like, oh, technology will end. This will be the end of the world, but it has no significance to the plot at all. I couldn't figure out why it was there.
Yeah, you almost expect the bad guys to suddenly be kind of those people, but are the bad guys kind of like symbolic of the Y2K? They're this kind of movement that will just unseen. See, it doesn't. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any sense. You're right, because his whole introduction to TJ is, I don't trust technology.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad if like it was just the setting. Like, it's no big deal, but they keep bringing up Y2K and things like
there's
keep
newspapers
up
of it. The character will often look at newspapers, and it's the front headline of it, like Y2K scare. You're right. I forgot about that.
It would happen like once or twice just to establish like oh, this is why they're not having. This is why they don't have smartphones, because this is during 1999, and just to establish like the setting. Yeah, fine, whatever. But yeah, they keep obsessing over the setting.
But then
And
Liam Neeson, is that his character development? Because eventually he gets a phone to contact TJ. No,
yeah.
he doesn't. He gives a phone to TJ so he can
Yeah.
contact him. It doesn't make. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, this is based off of a book.
Is it based off a book? Oh,
it
yeah,
said
that's
at the
right.
beginning.
Yeah.
So maybe like the thing with maybe all our criticisms we have, like with like the backstory, the Liam Neeson's character growth, and the serial killers. Maybe all this is more elaborated on in the book, and then when the filmmaker is adapting it, they just like, oh, like they didn't understand the significance of it, so they just put it in.
We got to read the book for. I'm very curious about this book now, but
yeah.
I want to talk about one more complaint. And I texted it to you when we were in the middle of watching it. The climactic shootout where they basically exchange the girl. It's not great, and the reason it's not great is because after every major action in the shootout, they freeze frame or have a voiceover of the person at church basically talking about. And I know you mentioned like it's his character arc of him kind of surrendering to kind of like all of this, but the inclusion of that screws up the pacing of the scene and ruins the tension of it too.
Yeah,
it's weird. I don't know. What do you think about that scene?
It didn't really bother me.
Okay.
I thought it was like I prefer that a little bit of style over, because like if there wasn't that narration over it, it just would have been a generic action scene.
Yeah, I get
it's
it.
It's not like they have Alex Garland directing the movie or anything, so it's not like you're gonna get really good action. So
yeah.
I don't know. It didn't really bother me now. I thought it was a nice stylistic choice for what it was. Like I don't know. It didn't really compare that to like the Taken 2 fight scene where it's probably the same kind of direction, but without any of like the relevance to the character.
Yeah.
I was fine with it. It didn't bother me like it bothered you.
No, I didn't. It didn't necessarily bother me, but I think it just ruined the tension of the scene, because at that point we've established like, yeah, people can die, because before that, when they exchanged the girl, they had cut off 2 of her fingers to the bone, and you're like, oh great, like okay, cool, anyone can be harmed. As soon as you set up the rules that a kid is hurt, anyone can die, and I guess we see that with an early appearance by Boyd Holbrook, who's the villain in Logan. I want to throw this out. The dude who directed this wrote the screenplay for Logan.
Really?
He also wrote the screenplay for Minority Report. And this is his second movie. He directed a movie in 2007 called Lockout, or The Lookout, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who stars as Chris Pratt.
What?
His character's name is Chris Pratt.
Oh.
and apparently the movie has decent reviews, but it came out in 2007, so he's not like, he's apparently a rather talented, he's worked with Steven Spielberg. He worked on.
I would say like the directing of this movie is probably the best part.
Oh, 100%. It has a lot of style.
It adds like I think more gravitas to the movie.
Yep.
And like this, because like we're picking out all like the writing flaws.
Yeah.
With it, but like it's so well directed. And that I think that when you're watching, you can overlook it because it feels more serious and more artistic than the actual subject matter that they're talking about.
Some of my favorite parts in the movie, and this is just simple, but they just put the camera down, and characters will often walk into the shot and then leave the shot.
Yeah.
And it's just the camera moves, and it's all kind of one take. Yeah. But it adds you're right, it adds style, and there's definite care with this movie. And that is very apparent in it. And you can tell because Liam Neeson is never this good in movies. In the 2010 movies and on, he has never been this good. He's
definitely trying too.
Yeah.
You can tell he likes this material.
He is putting in effort, and I don't know. I was rather impressed, but I honestly I kind of dug the end, how simple the end is. Well, one, you talk about stupid character decisions. Dan Stevens. Dan Stevens dies in this movie.
Yes, and almost comical fashion
because he knocks out the guy with the bottle, the bad guy. They got him in a very
he's literally tied up behind a heater.
Yep. Thing. And they set that up, by the way. They put the handcuffs. By the way, I just want to throw this out there. I don't know if handcuff keys are universal. Are they? If you have one set of the mechanical handcuff keys, can you unlock all of their handcuffs? because they come in and they use different handcuffs, and then he goes in the drawer which they set up. Does he then take the keys and then unlock it? Also, how does he get the keys? Because he can't bend over and he has to grab his. Listen, but it's a whole thing where then
Liam Neeson... they show him open the drawer with his foot.
Okay, but he has his shoes on.
You know, he has shoes on.
Does he take the shoes off?
He wrapped his toe around and also got his toe somehow. Like, how would you even move your leg to? Yeah, that was too much. That was way too much. And then of course Dan Stevens is like walking around like literally as slowly as possible.
Yeah, like checking out
because he's in the basement because they get him tied up.
Yeah,
and then Liam Neeson gives him the option to say, he's like, we can either call the cops or you can torture this guy.
Yeah, and they clearly set up like, hey, there's I think it's Liam Neeson telling the audience like, hey, yeah, like we're gonna get him. There's gonna be fibers. I mean, it's pretty obvious. He has a torture dungeon in the basement, and then but I like that character moment too. I was a big fan of it because they literally. He kills him, and then the guy comes and sits down and eat, and they basically walk into his house with a gun, and he's like, "You got me." And I'm like,
that
great
moment, but I'm just like setting the background for the stupid decision that makes. And then he elects to torture him.
Yeah.
And then Liam Neeson's like, "Okay, I'm gonna leave now.
Goodbye." And then he comes back in for some reason.
He comes in because he puts the kid in the taxi.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all of a sudden he's like, maybe I should go back in there.
Maybe he's not dead. And he comes back.
And then somehow, so of course Dan Stevens goes to the basement and is walking as slowly as possible for no reason. Because all of a sudden he becomes like a sadist that he just wants like to cut this guy up for no reason.
Yeah.
And he puts his hand in the disgusting water, like in the sink, the giant butcher's knife is in the sink, and there's all this bloody water in it.
Yeah.
And he puts his hand, which has a cut on it, so he has it wrapped. And he just puts his hand in there. I'm like, why would you do that?
What if he just dropped dead? He put his hand in there and he just died.
Yeah.
He's immediately went to his heart. No, but it's also like, it was that comedy because the hand he puts in there is the hand that is then cut off. Somehow, okay, so basically, somehow the guy escapes. We see there's a fight off camera. The guy actually does get hurt. So Dan Stevens puts up a fight, but he dies. He dies, somehow his hand is cut off. And then he's dead on stairs. In a scene that made me laugh out loud because it got rid of all tension. Liam Neeson is walking down the stairs and then trips and falls in the blood.
Yeah.
I was like, that point, I laughed, but I was also like, that was really funny and also probably realistic because he takes one step on the blood while sneaking with the gun and then just falls.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh great. And then the guy sneaks up.
I like that shot though when he's like when he comes out from in the background.
Yep.
The series, like I thought that was a good shot.
Yeah, it's talent, and they have a legitimately 15-second fight where Liam Neeson gets the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson then tasers the guy twice. He stands up, and the guy's like, and then Liam Neeson shoots him in the head. 15
the taser
seconds.
Part was cool because the first time he just like absorbed it and tried to shrug it off and just get tased again.
Yeah.
And of course Liam Neeson drops the taser right next to him for no reason.
He's like,
I can't hold this anymore.
God damn it. Oh no, it's like and then the movie's over. He shoots him in the head, and then the cops come. And at that point, I always wonder about because this movie is again set in the real world, like legal issues. Like, hey, why were you here? Like, did you just murder that dude? Yeah. What about the dude right over there? Like, what's going on? I don't know. It's a lot, and then the movie ends, and then he basically adopts the kid, most likely.
Yeah. The kid that no one likes.
Yeah, the kid who gets jumped in the movie.
Yeah. And then he has sickle cell anemia. That has no relevance to the plot at all.
No, it's a show that Liam Neeson cares because after the shootout, he goes to Kenny. He goes to the guy.
He cares so much, he left him alone with a gun.
He tells him to blow his brains out. A kid who is clearly drunk. No, my favorite part is not my favorite part. We actually do have to talk about our favorite scene because it's well done.
We have to talk about that.
But Kenny, he's like the kid. He has sickle cell anemia. And Kenny goes like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, who gives a shit? And he's like, oh, we have to find him. And then it ultimately leads into the house and like a weird short round roll where he's like
he's in the van and it's so comical. Like, how did he get in the van?
How did he not see? I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like he's like, what are you doing there? But wait, where are they? All right, go to the house. See the number.
That's the only reason why he was in the van, was so they could find the house.
But then they even have a line. They're like, it's a mile away from here. It's not even a mile away from here. I don't know. Again, directing of this movie is phenomenal. Like everything in this movie, directing wise and style wise, it's great. Yeah. It's dirty. It's grimy. No one is like feels clean.
Yeah.
There's also the great shot of the guy with the bird just kind of casually jumping off.
Oh, Jonas.
Jonas, yeah. I forgot about that until he stepped off. He's like, "I take care of my birds." I was like, "He's gonna kill himself."
My birds.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Great.
you can feed your birds.
So
it's funny because Liam Neeson's Irish in real life. So I wonder how, like, if he was like when they were doing the scenes together, if he just accidentally slipped into his real accent because like the other guy's clearly Irish and this is talking in his regular accent.
No, it was I like that guy. I like, again, this movie is not a really deep detective movie. There's no like.
I'd say the first half is under the illusion that's a deep detective movie.
Yes.
Like,
and then all of a sudden
it's pretty good. Like when he first gets on the case, he's talking to Jonas.
Yep.
And then like the scene with like the little girl crossing the street, which I'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
But I'd say like it's like the scenes with the kid aside, like it kind of starts off really good.
Yep.
And then like the final fight kind of just falls apart because like nothing really makes any sense.
Yeah. I also two things. It's like the movie, and we'll talk about this later in what we've been watching because I want to talk about the show Hannibal later. Yeah. But it's like the movie realized, oh my god, the creep guys are really good actors, are killers. Yeah. Hey, fuck it, let's include them in the movie more.
Yeah.
Because there's that weird flip, which our favorite scene we'll talk about. But there's also I forgot what I was gonna say. No, yeah, you're right. It's basically just like a flip happens. Like all of a sudden they're like, wait a second, our strength of the movie is probably these guys too. And then it just includes them in the movie. It's like the movie kind of grew to that realization. But yeah, it's under the illusion. Oh, the opening credits are interesting.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, great. Because you have no idea, because you show, I thought, you realize the opening credits are basically a girl bathed in white who looks like she's kind of like, it's basically like, look like she's having sex. But
you think like she's in the, because it's like, you think it's like white clothes and they're like huddling or something.
Yeah. I thought, and then there's a tear drops down her eye and the movie goes. I thought that was something with like Liam, that was like, is that the backstory for Liam Neeson's wife? Yeah. I'm like, you have no idea. Turns out it's the dramatized version of the serial killer's perspective when they are killing and raping a girl.
Yeah. Was that Dan Stevens' wife?
No, that was the drug dealer, the second guy who lives outside of the apartment from Jonas.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Great. Like, because you establish, it's a really smart way, because you establish Liam Neeson's character at the beginning, and then you establish the bad guys without even us realizing what is happening.
And
Loved it.
It makes it more disturbing because you think it's pretty like innocent at first.
Yep.
Like, you don't, it's like pretty innocuous.
Yep.
But you're like, but then like you see the tear, and like then you see her like grab like this metal table slab. Yep. It's like, and then you know, like, oh, she's being tortured or whatever.
Yep.
And it's like, it's pretty great. Yeah.
It's great. Our favorite scene, because then I feel like we've talked about it. Our favorite scene, completely out of left field, tonally so different than the rest of the movie. It's basically David Harbour and the other bad guy, Ray. His name is Ray. They realize they've been stalking this family, and they're like, oh, we're gonna get the wife. They realize the wife of a drug dealer. They realize the wife's actually the maid. They think they messed up. Then his daughter comes out walking the dog. Then it's slow-mos with Atlantis by Donovan blaring as David Harbour stares like lovingly.
It's on the radio.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stares lovingly at this girl.
Yeah.
And then it keeps going. It's 30 seconds, but it shows like his transfixion with her.
Yeah. You understand, you're for a second, you're in their minds.
Yep.
And you understand like you know at this point, like, oh, they're targeting this girl now.
Like,
this is all they can think about, because it's brilliant also because the movie's template is very gray.
Yeah.
And then she comes in and she's wearing like this a velvet red coat, and she's like, it's probably the most visually like stimulating thing in the whole movie, color wise, because, and then you just understand like, oh, like this is their new obsession, this is what they're going to target now. And like that and with the opening credits, like you understand the way these serial killers think just through visual storytelling.
Yeah.
They don't say, oh, now we're going to target this person. Like,
you
understand everything they're going to do based on the directing and on the visual acting and everything.
Yeah, it's great. So, that part, it stands out.
Yeah.
And you're right. It introduces,
and the music the music helps as well, because it adds like this kind of like sick tone to it as well.
Yeah, a sick fantasy element. They're like, great, we found her. Yeah. I mean, listen, we just sound like we just dogged the movie for a while.
Yeah.
It is a simple but stylistic movie. Yes. And I think you would be hard pressed. This movie completely fell. Movie cost, I think I read it was anywhere between $25 to $28 million to make. It made around $60 million box office. no one really saw this movie. It came and it fell under the radar of the Liam Neeson movies because he was making 2 a year.
Yeah.
But it's probably his best one. Like, I really, like, I'd be hard-pressed to find another one that you leave and you go, that was probably his best movie.
Yeah. It sounds like we're dogging the movie because we just talked about The Handmaiden last week.
Yeah.
And it was just universal praise. Like, everything we do is perfect. So, like, I mean, not every movie can be The Handmaiden. And so...
We're about to see for my next 2 movies are not going to be loved movies. So you're going to see kind of you might have a really good one. But this one was really curious because, again, I chose it because I remember really liking it, and I know you really liked it. And it was interesting to see how it held up, and I think it holds up. I think stylistically it does. I think there are some good character moments. I think narratively it is its weak point.
Yeah, I would say, like, there's definitely things I forgot that I really liked in the movie. Yep. And there's some things I forgot that I was like, not so crazy about in the movie.
Yeah, not the best.
So I'd say overall, like, my opinion of the movie was basically upheld because I forgot things that I liked and I forgot things I didn't like, so it kind of equals itself out. It's a solid, like you said, 3.5 out of 3.5 out of 5 stars. Kind of movie.